For the picture that we're going to be doing today, we're going to be using lots and lots of color. It's good if you use crayons for this. You could try colored pencils or markers, but they may not work as well as the crayons because they may not blend as well. Colored pencils would be all right. Markers would be so-so. I would probably recommend using crayons or colored pencils for this one. What you need to do is find a picture first. If you don't have one, excuse me, you can look one up and do a search. But don't forget that when you look it up, you are looking for that Creative Commons license. And there's a video showing you how to do this as well. Okay, so don't forget it has to be a Creative Commons picture so it's not copyrighted. First thing you're going to do is go ahead and draw your picture on your paper. All right, and I'm going for this picture. Okay, I've changed it to make it my own. This is actually a picture I took. So it is my own, but I've changed it even just a little bit more from this picture. I'm going to make it not quite as dark, so it's not as much of a silhouette. And I'm going to add a little bit more color to the shed there. Okay, so I've got my picture ready to go. And now I'm going to start adding color. With Impressionism, remember the idea that Impressionists did was they tried to capture a moment in time. So they kind of tried to do it somewhat quickly, but they use short little brush strokes. So for this, we're going to be using short little, we're not going to use brush strokes because we're not using a crayon boat, or we're not using paint, but we're using a crayon. So we're going to use short little crayon strokes. Okay, just short little lines basically is what we're doing. And we want to mix colors. We want to let your eyes blend the colors. So we don't want to just use one color. We're going to try really hard to use lots of different colors in this one. And we're going to let our eyes blend it. So you see I'm using different kinds of oranges. I've got some purple in there. Down at the bottom, I've got red. Okay, and we're letting the viewer's eye blend the color as we go. So lots of little brush strokes. And this one takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it in the end. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward just a little bit so that you can see what's happening as the colors really start to blend. Okay, notice you want to fill in the space on the paper. You don't want to leave a bunch of white space. You want to try to fill it in with as much color as you can so that you're not looking at a bunch of white space. Okay, with the shed, I would go ahead and I'm going to add lots of darker colors. Like I said, I don't want it to be a total silhouette, so I don't want it to be like totally black. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of the grays. I'm going to add a little bit of blue in the shadows. Think about what other colors you see in the shadows. Don't jump right to black. It can overpower your picture. Think about the browns that you might see, the greens, the purples, the blues, and try to add those colors in the shadows before you jump to the really dark, dark, dark. Okay, so same thing with lights. Think about using lighter colors. Like in a shadow, do you see lighter oranges? Do you see lighter greens? Do you see yellows? Think about all those colors. Don't automatically jump to white in a shadow. In some instances, yes, you might see white or black, but think about the other colors that you see in addition to that, and then add those. It doesn't have to be white or black in a shadow or in a light space. So think about the other colors that you're seeing as well. That's the important thing. And you're going to let the viewer's eye, as well as yours, blend the colors. Okay, I'm starting to add some of those shadowy areas in, and I'm trying to fill in the space with color. I'm using different colors. Like I said, I've got some grays in there. I've got some blues. I've got blue grays. I'm adding some light purples in there to give it some value, but I don't want to go right to black. Okay, and as I get darker, I'm using darker grays, darker blues, darker purples. Okay, so just use darker colors. It doesn't necessarily, like I said, have to go right to black. I'm going to add some brown in there. In my finished example, you'll see that. Okay, and then if you need to, you can go use black. Okay. All right, but don't forget, let your viewer's eye blend the color, and don't be afraid to use color in this one. That's the whole idea, all right? Use as much color as you can. Think about what you're seeing in shadows and highlights as you do this.